My name is Reverend Dr. May. Today is Friday. It's January 17th, and it's day 469 since October 7th of 2023. There's a lot that I didn't cover yesterday in the weekly update, in a briefing that I gave about the hostage agreement and ceasefire negotiations. Let me start with the most relevant update. A ceasefire agreement has now been approved by the Israeli government, and the hostage deal with Hamas is moving forward after hours of deliberation. The Israeli government met today. They approved the agreement with Hamas that calls for the cessation of fighting in Gaza and the release of the first 3 Israeli hostages, and the exchange for Palestinian prisoners is set to happen as early as Sunday. A significant increase in aid will move forward, which could include as many as 600 trucks, foods, tents, medical supplies, and fuel entering into Gaza. That's expected to begin to flow on Sunday as well, according to humanitarian workers. The deal was endorsed today, Friday, by Netanyahu's inner work cabinet. The only people who voted against it were the finance minister, Smotrich, and the national security minister, Ben-Gvir. On the deal's first day, 3 Israeli hostages will be released. Another 4 will be released on day 7. There's an incremental release structure built into place. The Israeli Defense Forces are not set to withdraw from Gaza until all of the hostages are returned. That would allow the residents of Gaza to return to the north of the Strip. What else do we know? We know that Israeli airstrikes have continued in Gaza since the deal was announced. As of Friday night, local time in Israel and the occupied territories, at least 117 people have been killed since the deal was announced. That includes 30 children. That's since the first reports of the ceasefire on Wednesday. The first 6 weeks of the deal are expected to involve the release of 33 hostages. That would include 2 Americans, Keith Siegel and Sagi Tekel-Chen. There's a 3rd American who's an Israeli soldier who would be released in a later part of the deal, phase 2, according to senior U.S. officials. French President Macron said today that there are 2 French citizens who are among the 33 hostages that would be released as well. The Treasury Department on Friday sanctioned Yemen Kuwait Bank, accusing it of having provided financial support to the Houthis in Yemen. And the death toll in Gaza, as of the latest numbers, is 46,788 people killed, those injured at 110,453. According to the health ministry. Israeli officials believe there are 98 hostages in Gaza, about 60 presumed to be alive. So 33 would be roughly half of the remaining hostages. Israel estimates roughly 1,200 people were killed on October 7th of 2023, including of that number were about 300 soldiers. Since then, about 405 Israeli soldiers have been killed. The office of Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, issued a statement saying that they're prepared, the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is prepared to have authority in the Gaza Strip, but the current ceasefire does not make any room for that. The Israeli Justice Ministry published a list of the 95 Palestinian prisoners who are designated to be released as a part of the deal. 10 of the total prisoners have been indicted and sentenced. 10 of the total prisoners have been indicted and sentenced. 31 have been detained without trial, and 51 were detained with trial. Just now, it's about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Israel's Justice Ministry published the partial list of the prisoners that are set to be released in the first phase of the deal. So 95 have been designated, but they have not been made public yet. Blinken said that Saudi Arabia's demands for normalization with Israel have increased significantly since the October 7th attacks, and senior Hamas official said that Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, helped facilitate this deal significantly. Bassem Naim, who's a senior Hamas official, said that this deal wouldn't have happened without Steve Witkoff and without U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and his looming inauguration. Naim further charged the complicit Biden administration for being responsible for the vast majority of delays over the last few months. There's a fact sheet that has been published with dates from January 2025 that talks about the number of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons, which totals over 10,000 Palestinians. There's about 84 women, Palestinian women in Israeli jails. There are 340 children under the age of 18 in Israeli prisons, 340 Palestinian children. Administrative detainees, these are detainees who are arrested without charges, who are arrested without trial. Administrative detainees, 3,376, 21 of whom are women. Yesterday, on Thursday, there were reports that Ben-Gvir had resigned from the government. Initially, it was reported over a legal battle with his relatives, not over the ceasefire. And then a few hours later, Ben-Gvir announced a conditional resignation from the government if the ceasefire proceeded. As of tonight, he's not yet resigned. 9 people were killed overnight between Thursday into Friday into the Gaza Strip, according to reports. And the Gaza border defense for the Israelis. There have been significant reports of implementations of changes that are set to happen. The Israeli army will overhaul its whole defense strategy related to the Gaza envelope, the kibbutzim, military bases that surround the Gaza envelope. This includes things like enhanced security measures, upgraded defense infrastructure, a redefined buffer zone, where the fence will narrow to 700 meters. At 5 strategic locations, there will be a wider perimeter that will be 1.2 kilometers. There will be strict rules of engagement where the entire border area will be considered a combat zone, which is the orders there will be shoot to kill orders for any suspect that approaches the fence. This is a decisive shift in the operational doctrine. In the West Bank, last night into today, Friday morning, there were house incursions by Israeli forces in Nablus. There were arrests there. Israeli settlers raided a village that was north of Nablus and bulldozed Palestinian farmlands. There were fear of settlers taking over village lands to make a park for settlers as well. Iran and Hamas put out a statement after the ceasefire agreement about Israel's eventual demise. This was after a phone conversation between Iranian foreign minister and the Hamas leader Khalil Haya. The statement talked about the agreement and support of the ceasefire. The Iranian deputy foreign minister, Arachi, described the ceasefire as a victory for Hamas and the Palestinian people, talking about their resilience after 15 months of Israeli aggression. The statement talked about Hamas and Iranian coordination and acknowledgement of those killed, Hamas's resistance while commemorating Hamas leaders and Hezbollah leaders. But the letter also talked about a continued commitment to resistance, supporting the Palestinian cause until all rights are achieved. It talked about the current conflict as the Al-Aqsa flood and portrayed it as a forerunner of Israel's eventual demise. In Israel, Defense Minister Israel Katz announced on Friday that he's immediately canceling administrative detention without trial, for Jewish settlers. There were 5 in Israeli custody. They were all immediately released. Last night, I received this news from a longtime partner, the Rebuilding Alliance. You may recall we did a campaign with them in 2017 or 2018. It was called Lights for Gaza. We raised funds where we sent in solar-powered lights. CMEP did educational meetings on Capitol Hill. Rebuilding Alliance shared the tragic news that their longtime partner, Eid Shakara, lost 11 members of his family on Wednesday night. A missile destroyed his brother's home in the safe zone of Deir al-Balah, just across the street from their compound. The victims included his 75-year-old father, his sisters, his nieces and nephews, his 7-year-old son, who was visiting his grandfather at the time. Eid's brother is in intensive care. His sister-in-law is hospitalized. Eid is the founder of the Al-Basma Club for the Disabled, which serves tens of thousands of hot meals every day as part of the Rebuilding Alliance by the Hands of the People hot meal program in Gaza. We extend our deepest condolences to him and his family and to the Rebuilding Alliance for their unimaginable grief. Donna Bronski-Walker, the founder and executive director of the Rebuilding Alliance, asks for you to please keep them in your prayers. I'm out of words for such devastation and loss in Gaza, for those who've lost loved ones wherever they may be, in all the occupied territories in Israel. Even if it stops right now, there is such devastation, and it has not yet stopped. I want the people of Gaza to have hope, and the family members of hostages and prisoners, all of them to have hope. But friends, the struggle hasn't ended. We're grateful for the glimmers moving forward, for the progress, but there's much work yet to be done. I received this invitation, an invitation from a colleague, The words were, if this moves you to be a part of it, we're calling on all the individuals of conscience in the world to light on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday evening candles to commemorate the start of a ceasefire in Gaza. With this gesture, we mark Gaza's resurrection, the victory over death and genocide, express our solidarity with their people, the owners of this epic, honoring their perseverance. We suggest that all participants film this, put it on social media, light your candles, put them online, light your candles for peace, for the people of Palestine, for the people of Gaza, for the people of Israel, in the name of Christ. Amen.